From Chesapeake, Virginia, WHKT presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Now here is Greg Bicouvaris.
All right, thank you very much, Joe Daniel, on this very overcast September 27th into fall. Sports Scene is an interview show every Wednesday from 12 to 1. Also watch sports highlights on nnpstv.com. Tell your friends about gjbtv.com. Twitter at Greg Bick, and you can see the rest of my Twitter handles on gjbtv.com in the contact section. Thank you to our military. Guest lineup presented by Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. Our featured guest is Bob Molinaro. Sponsors on gjbtv.com, marketplace sponsors, and Hampton Roads onlinemall.com. Phone line presented by Mi Casita Mexican Restaurant with 2 locations in Virginia Beach. Show is presented by Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame, hrsmhof.com. Few notes: UVA got a nice win on the road. Tech beat Old Dominion. The Redskins are 2-1 and now face the Chiefs on the road. Great interviews, business segments, highlights, commentary, what teased me off. Thank you for making the habit to listen to Sports Scene weekly, and we love our regulars and newcomers. TuneIn.com, type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. 1650 AM live right now and 92.5 FM. Stay tuned for Sports Scene.
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris.
And welcome back to Sports Scene, live right here on 1650 AM, 92.5 FM, tunein.com. Type in WHKT to listen on your phone or your computer. Greg Bick on Twitter, GREGBIC. Go to gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link on the homepage for archive shows. We've had this gentleman on Sports Highlights, Sports Scene several times, longtime columnist of The Pilot, now as a freelancer. Let's welcome back Bob Molinaro. Good to see you.
Greg, nice to see you again.
Very good, very good. How was the weekend? And, of course, the Old Dominion, let's start off with them before we get into a lot of topics here. Old Dominion against Tech, I guess they didn't get beat 60-0. They still got shut out.
Yeah, the defense or Tech's problems they brought on themselves in the first half kept the score fairly respectable for a while. It's 38-0 was the final, but ODU's offense never got within sight of the goal line, and so there had to be frustration on that end. Even if you think the defense played well, the offense was fairly inept, helpless.
Yeah, you have to wonder, Bud Foster, who's been there for decades as defensive coordinator, when he found out there was going to be a freshman quarterback, not even old enough to vote yet, to go into Blacksburg. That was a tough chore.
Absolutely, and Tech plays Clemson this week, and I don't think Bud Foster unveiled any great defensive innovations for the ODU game. He's keeping it close to the vest for them. Their talent was good enough to beat Old Dominion, and where they play Clemson this week, he may need to put in a few wrinkles.
I think you're exactly right. I think they took Old Dominion serious like every coach does, but he's not going to show everything like he will this Saturday night.
Correct, yeah.
Well, let's talk about Old Dominion's remaining schedule.
Well, they go into their conference play, and we saw last year that they you can get through that schedule. The Conference USA is a kind of a confusing conference to analyze. You never know who's good, who's bad, and so they'll aim for their 6 wins and hope to get. They have 2 already, and hope that they get to a bowl game. ODU beat UMass up there in Amherst, Massachusetts, and UMass I think is the only team in the country right now that is 0-5. They've played 5 games. Most everybody else has played 4. So that's just a little trivial tidbit there.
Yeah, Old Dominion, UMass are not exactly Tech in North Carolina, but they're off this week, and they got Florida Atlantic, of course, then Marshall, Western Kentucky, North Texas, Charlotte, and, of course, FIU.
Well, their quarterback's Stephen Williams I think he's going to be very, very good, but that doesn't mean he's going to be very good now. It doesn't mean he's going to be very good now on the road. So we'll see. I mean, he's got great feet. It looks like he's got a good arm and a good head on his shoulders. But, you run into problems when you're a freshman quarterback.
And it just shows you these offensive people that are geniuses don't know everything. They had the whole offseason to focus on who the starting quarterback. They were constantly asking that question. Your colleagues were asking that question, and they still didn't know until after a few games.
Yeah, I don't know what goes into all that. I guess they were just hoping they could have a quarterback who could just run the system, hand off, and it turned out you need a quarterback who can threaten people downfield, and this guy Williams can. Again, he's got to read defenses and get acclimated to the system. But yeah, it is odd. You have a spring practice, you have fall practice, and you still can't decide on your quarterback. But that that happens, and they made a quick decision to burn Williams' redshirt year.
Mm-hmm. Well,
so but if it works out, he'll be their quarterback for 4 years.
Yeah.
And if he's good enough, he's wearing Taylor Heineke's number 14. If he's 75% as good as Taylor was, then they found a pretty good player there.
Absolutely. We're talking to Bob Molinaro. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us. You can see his column on Fridays in the Pilot, of course. Do you like the Friday as opposed to Saturday?
Yeah, that's fine. It's also online, the way things work now. It goes online Thursday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the way of the world now.
Exactly. Well, let's switch gears a little bit to the other schools. It looks like finally in November, Tech and UVA are going to be a relevant game with bowl implications.
Well,
both are playing well.
We'll see. I mean, Tech will be the favorite. If they played tomorrow, they'd be the favorite. When they play in November, they'll be the favorite. Virginia has been a little bit of a surprise. I don't know how good Boise State is supposed to be, but they certainly – you go that far on the road, you're supposed to be at a handicap, and Virginia played very well. But we'll see. They're very thin at quarterback, for example.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have a backup that's except a true freshman. I hate that term, true freshman, but anyway. So if the quarterback can stay healthy, they may hang in there. But it's so early, and I don't know. The ACC is supposed to be the best conference in the country, but now Florida State lost its starting quarterback. North Carolina looks more, they're 1-3. That shouldn't happen. It's hard to tell how good the ACC is going to be, but it'll be interesting to follow. I think Tech is a more known commodity, and they should be expected to win, except for this Clemson games, of course, is a mystery. That could turn either way. But after that, they should be expected to roll on. But Virginia is a little more interesting maybe because you just don't know. Have we seen the real team, or have we just seen them, is this an aberration? So far what we've seen, will they fall by the wayside against ACC competition?
Well, Florida State's definitely down. North Carolina's not as strong as they've been in the past. Tech, Clemson. What's impressive about Clemson is they lose quarterbacks and still reload and rebuild.
They lost their quarterback, of course, Sean Watson.
Playing for Houston.
Yeah, he's playing very well for Houston. And they don't rebuild. They just, as they say, reload. They lost several other players, too, to the NFL. And so I'm surprised they're as good as they are. But, again, it's early in the season.
Right.
We'll see. The teams have fallen off before.
But it's even Ohio State's lost, too. So, they've struggled, too. Maryland played well beating Texas, but then they got reality when they lost last week.
Maryland is off my radar now that they've left the ACC.
Right.
I'm still having trouble getting used to the fact they're in the Big Ten.
And you have Maryland roots,
It's a shame. Yeah, it's a shame they're in the Big Ten, I think, as a Maryland native. But so I really don't pay that much attention to them.
So here's where sports almost becomes irrelevant for exactly what you said. Maryland, for years, lefty would play Carl Tacey in Wake Forest or Dean Smith in North Carolina or Norm Sloan. During the Olympic sports now, they have to go to Minnesota, Iowa, Indiana, Michigan in the middle of the winter for these Olympic sports with nobody there.
Non-revenue sports, otherwise known as.
More time on the road, taking away from academics.
Right. They talk the academic game out of one side of their mouth, and then they take a trip from College Park, Maryland to Madison, Wisconsin in the dead of winter for a wrestling match or a Do they play volleyball? I think so. Women's basketball, men's basketball. You know, it's absurd. And but Maryland left because they said they could make more money. I guess they're happy.
I think they were better off. I agree with you. The ACC. Breaking news with all the different scandals going on with colleges. Your thoughts on what you're hearing so far? It's still early.
Well, you're hearing that Rick Pitino has been fired as the Louisville head football coach, and their athletics director has also been fired because he wouldn't fire Rick Pitino. So that's the report coming out of ESPN and other places. Louisville's going to have a press conference at 1 o'clock to confirm these rumors, we think. So these reports, they're not rumors. Pitino should go. I mean, they're recovering from one scandal, the one with the strippers and the parties and the recruiting parties, and now another scandal. You can't. I don't care who you are. You shouldn't survive that, even if you're Rick Pitino, who's as slick as they come. But apparently this is it for him. Now, that doesn't mean you'll see him again.
Maybe the NBA again.
NBA or ESPN or Fox or one of these networks will pick him up. He's very glib. He's very interesting to listen to. He'll be around if he wants to be. Whether he'll coach in the college again, I would doubt that. But as you say, the NBA, sure.
Well, there's so many rules with these colleges about communicating with athletes. There's texting, there's visits, there's these recruiting hawks. I'm not a big fan of the AAU at all. I think it's a big scam. But, NBA, at least they can focus on their players and their job. The NFL can do the same thing. College sports, Bob, is just so many stipulations, and you can't do this. You can only talk during a certain time of the year. You can't even watch practices during the summer. There's too many rules, it seems like.
Well, there are too many rules because there are too many people who are willing to violate the spirit of the rules, or the spirit of, even if it's a rule that's not written down, people will figure out a way to get around the ethical challenges of recruiting for college sports. Now, this could have ramifications. The whole thing about the Adidas company paying athletes to go to schools, in one form or another, that's been going on for 30 years. Nike started that. Adidas picked up on that. This is 20, 30 years ago. This has been going on. Now, nobody's ever come upon an FBI investigation like this, but people knew it. People knew this was going on. There were Nike schools. People were directed to Nike schools. And what this could lead to is, of course, you'd need the NBA to sign off on this, is to do away with this. You have to play. You can't join the NBA till you're 19 years old. So kids play one-and-done college basketball. If you did away with that, colleges, these kids who want to be one and done wouldn't be one and done. They just go directly to the pros. There would be no ethical or rules violations as regards the college recruiting system. But they'd need that's an NBA rule now, by the way. That's not a college rule that you can't go directly from high school. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of, Kobe went directly from high school, LeBron, many others. And maybe we'll go back to that eventually.
This is Sports Scene at 12:20. Greg Bicouvaris along with Joe Daniel and also Bob Molinaro in the studio. 92.5 FM as well. TuneIn.com to listen on your phone or your computer by simply punching in WHKT in the search box. This show will be archived later on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Let's talk about the stories of the week here. When the president gets involved in sports, and he's just one person's opinion. And I'm going to say this before I say anything else. I love the way golfers, tennis players, and NASCAR are paid. They get paid based on how they perform. A golfer can have a decent Thursday and Friday, still miss the cut, not get paid a dime. A tennis player, which I know you play tennis as well, if they get to the quarters, semis, or finals, they're going to make more money. A NASCAR driver, it's all about points, trying to get in the top 10, and that weekly grind is a weekly grind. To me, no NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball player, or NHL, I'm not a big hockey fan, is worthy of being a millionaire before they step foot on the floor.
Well,
and that's my problem with it.
That's just the way it works, though. In baseball, for example, you've always been paid for what you've done, and then if you have a bad season, you still get. I'm
talking about rookies.
The contract's the contract. Rookies, well, that's just the way. What would you have them do? not pay them
No.
until they prove themselves as a rookie? Or?
No, pay them, but pay them a minimum salary. And if they perform, they don't get injured perennially, they stay out of trouble. Look at the kid for the Giants who's making a mockery of the Giants season. They're 0-3. The Mariners are very conservative. You know that.
Odell Beckham.
Yeah, and he's acting like a kid.
Right. Of course, he's not a rookie, but I know what you mean. I think it's his third year.
But he wants an extension.
Yes. Well, it's up to the Giants. If they think he's not good for the organization, they can let him go. Somebody will sign him, of course, and like the Redskins would sign him, and then the Giants would have to play against them. But look, there's a lot of behavior in pro sports that isn't, shouldn't be acceptable. But the athletes, for the most part, hold the upper hand. Now in football, they don't as much because there's no guaranteed contracts. But in the NBA and baseball, once you sign a guy to a long-term guaranteed contract, the player has the upper hand. Mm-hmm. You can't just dump him. Well, you can, but you're going to have to pay him off his $20, $30, $40 million. The NFL should have a better grip on it because there's no guaranteed contracts. They can cut the best player on the team tomorrow, and they don't owe him the last 3 years of his contract. That's what makes these protests interesting. Trump called for firing these players. Well, in the NFL, they could fire a player. That's why the players are so up in arms over what Trump said. Where in the NBA, they sort of snicker at that because that wouldn't happen. But in the NFL, they can cut the linebacker tomorrow who protests.
Right.
And there's nothing that the player can do except he gets his bonus money that he signed up front. But he doesn't get the last 2 or 3 years of his contract. He's out on the street, so to speak, and then another team can pick him up. But that's why the NFL players were riled up over this because it's like, whoa, this cuts too close to home. Our owner could cut us tomorrow. That's so.
Yeah, I'm probably one of the few in the minority always taking the owner's side before all this drama. But here's the thing. Between the Kaepernick thing, the salaries, and we used to go to sports to escape from our day-to-day life and grind from our 9 to 5. Now we see politics involved in sports, right. And I really don't care what these athletes want to stand for. Do it on your personal time, not on company dime.
Okay, I understand that. But in this case, in the past few days, it was President Trump that made it an issue.
He's one person.
There were like 12 or 15 people in the NFL scattered among the teams who were protesting before games. He made it so that 250 players and even the owners came down because he made a big deal out of it, for no apparent reason other than to appeal to his base and rile people up. It was apropos to nothing. He just said this in his speech in Alabama. And he used language about the players that offended a lot of the players.
Right.
Calling them SOBs, that offended a lot of the players. It offended a lot of the black players because often they came from single-parent homes where the mother was the head of the household, and now Trump is using the word SOB. If you think of what that means literally, that cut pretty deep for some of the players. So now suddenly you have players who weren't sure what side they were going to fall on, but now they're making a protest as much against Trump as anything else.
Yeah, Trump should have never used a curse word, but the players can ignore him. But they don't have to disrespect the flag or the country, and that's true for all the ancestors that fought in all the wars. That's the problem I have. Don't disrespect the flag or the country.
I understand that. It's just in this case, people are coming at it from 3 or 4 different angles, and that's one of them. And other people are saying, well, it's the flag that guarantees us that we can protest. So it's, I understand all sides in this case, but it's just too bad it's come to this, and that the national anthem, which is the NFL has made a big deal out of in the last 5 or 6 years. You see these flags they pull out before the games, they cover the entire field.
Sure.
I'm not sure how many times you can do that before it gets kind of old. And they didn't used to do that. There's something behind this, and the NFL wants to. Well, you've read, right? The NFL has been paid by the Department of Defense to put on patriotic shows before their games for the last 5 years. Paid millions of dollars to do that. So now you see these flags. Well, you didn't used to see that. You didn't used to see that at all.
No.
So Yes, I don't know. It's another example of the country just spinning itself into the ground. We don't know what side to take about these issues.
Well, Lynch for the Raiders and Kaepernick protested before this whole drama thing too, and so there's always going to be some type of drama with athletes. But really, let's just watch the football on the field. What you do the rest of your 6 days out of the week, it's your business.
I don't know if people are actually not watching games. They claim they're not watching games because of this. Okay, you're free to do that. I don't watch games sometimes just because I don't care. But that's not a protest, I guess, unless it's me protesting against boring football games. Now, I watched this past week, and there were some good games. I don't want to say every week is boring, but my only protest is if the game's boring, I turn it off.
I do a lot of work, as you know, for Fox, and I like the fact that we do day games, not these ridiculous night games at night that it's midnight before the fourth quarter is over sometimes. And that's whether it's Sunday night or Monday night, the games are on too late. They could start at 7 o'clock or 7:30 easily. It's all about the West Coast, but the Rams and the Chargers don't draw anybody anyway. Or the 49ers haven't won a game.
Yeah, and Sunday nights, the West Coast, ESPN's, or no, that's NBC. They could start earlier. It's Sunday. People in the West Coast are home on a Sunday.
Right. I got a few more topics. We'll take a break for the news in just a moment, too. This is a pretty long topic. Your thoughts, switching gears. I want to get Bob's thoughts on this coming back after the news break about the Olympics being in South Korea. Korea was one country at one time, folks, as you well know, back in the 40s. And, of course, the Olympics, if that North Korea is ever going to make a statement, it's going to be at the, unfortunately, the Winter Olympics next year in 2018. And also want to get Bob's thoughts on the late Dave Rosenfield as well. So all that coming back on Sports Scene after the news break, all brought to you by Oh Yummy Sushi, best Japanese cuisine in Virginia. Give them a call at 631-6888 at 401 North Great Neck Road in Virginia Beach. Excellent sushi, great Japanese cuisine, open daily for lunch and dinner, delicious food as well, 7 days a week. Go by and see Jasmine and the friendly staff at Oh Yummy Sushi for lunch or dinner as well. Glad you're with us right here on Sports Scene. Of course, we'll be back every Wednesday from 12 to 1. And, of course, we got What Teased Me Off a little bit later. We got highlights as well. And, of course, excellent guests each week on Sports Scene. Greg Bick on Twitter. That's GREGBIC. Interact 24/7 as well. Sports Scene will continue after these messages and the news break right here on 1650 AM, 92.5 FM, TuneIn.com.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris in the Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com studios. It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com.
And GJBTV.com. Click the YouTube link for archive shows. As well, we'll get to the question of the day presented by Buffalo Wild Wings and Newport News. Save the date each Wednesday from 12 to 1 for Sports Scene. Hampton Roads Online Mall.com. That's Hampton Roads Online Mall.com. Browse, shop, visit, bookmark it. GJBTV.com, Hampton Roads Online Mall.com. And, of course, HRSMHOF.com for the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame. Panera, right there in Harborview in Suffolk. Give them a call at 483-3670 at 6255 College Drive. Soups, sandwiches, salads, breakfast, smoothies, beverages, bagels as well. They deliver as well as food as it should be. And for more, log on to PaneraBread.com. Back with Bob Molinaro. The Olympics in Korea anytime is risky, but it seems like it's really risky with what's going on in North Korea. I mean, they're like Norfolk and Virginia Beach, that close.
Yeah, 50 miles apart, the border from where the Olympics will be held to the border of North Korea. Well, it's people worried about in the Rio Olympics in Brazil. People worried about the mosquito carrying the Zika virus. There was panic over that. Imagine what could happen 50 miles from a crazy person's border. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of nervous skiers and bobsledders in that. I think in that Olympics,
they're going to, yeah.
It's going to. I don't know. It shouldn't be laughed at, but there's always something going into an Olympics people worry about. Like, can this be overcome? Like the Zika virus in Brazil, and it turned out to be not a big deal. Apparently, let's just hope this turns out to be not a big deal.
Right. There was a movie, Sleepless in Seattle. Now it's Sleepless in Korea. But, of course, I've been to Puerto Rico 3 times, and hats off to all the people recovering from Hurricane Maria and all the other hurricanes. We wish them a speedy recovery, both physically, emotionally, and spiritually. But I never saw one bug or fly at all in 3 times I went to Puerto Rico. So a lot of that's hysteria and hype and so forth. If Dave Rosenfield was still alive, what would he think about the Admirals and the Tides feud?
Well, he'd find it both infuriating and probably hilarious at the same time. I'm not that familiar with the feud at the moment, but the hockey team is going nowhere fast, and it's possible there won't be a hockey team at Scope after this year. Mm-hmm. It's just, the ownership is wobbly, to say the least. Dave, people miss him in some ways, and one thing about Dave was, if there was something to get done, he got it done. If you wanted to give it to him, put it on his desk, and he got it done. He made the phone calls. He knows people. He knew people. He was,
but he was
aggressive, to say the least, and he would get things done.
Yeah, he could be a gentleman at times, but those that have power are also afraid to lose it as well. Yeah. It was his way or the highway most of the time.
Yeah, but he mellowed the last 10 years, and Joe Gregory ran things more and more. So Dave and I got along fine. We weren't friends, but we were friendly. Mm-hmm. And at the end, he was a good guy, And like I said, when he was in his prime and even in his last years, if you needed to make a phone call to find out something about sports in this area, or somebody to contact, if you called Dave, he knew where everything was and what you should do.
Still a long ways away. The Giants are 0-3, and I had to make a speech at the Peninsula Sports Club milestone last week, and the name Norm Snead came out. And when you first
Norm Snead,
right, when you were first he was a quarterback of the Giants from this area.
He's quarterback of the Redskins
and the Giants too, as well.
He really?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
Several years look him up on Wikipedia and Google. Okay. His last year quarterback in the Giants was 76, and your thoughts on the Giants? I mean, they were a playoff team last year. I mean, when you start 0-3, it's very difficult.
Well, Eli, believe it or not, because he always seems like the kid brother. He's 37 years old, and he's just not playing worth anything at the moment. Now you say he's not getting protection up front. That's possible. Obviously, that contributes to every quarterback's problems. Russell Wilson is having that problem in Seattle now, but Eli may be through, and their head coach Ben McAdoo looks like a good coordinator who was pushed up one level too high. He's not a head coach. He's a coordinator. He's not a head coach.
Right. He's 0-3 too. You are what your record is. All right. Well, all the best to you, my friend. Continue success on your Friday column. And you've been a time, talent, and treasure for this area for all your sports writing coverage and columns over the years. And thank you for what you've done.
Thank you, Greg. Nice to be here.
You want to plug your Twitter handles? I know you're not big into it.
No, I don't need. Well, but Twitter is what? Bob Molinaro.
Yeah. You still have one, though. You're still on Twitter.
I still have one, but I don't believe in it. But I still have
You're
one.
Old school, just a good old Pilot and Ledger star for those days back in the day. All right, Bob Molinaro right here, a guest on Sports Scene. We'll be back after these messages.
You are listening to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Now, back to Greg.
All right, Sports Scene, Greg Bicouvaris, at Greg Bic on Twitter. Also want to thank our good friends at Buffalo Wild Wings in Newport News at 12150 Jefferson Avenue. Go by and see the great staff over there 7 days a week for excellent football, baseball, all the great sports. The phone number 249-3999. Excellent staff, 7 days a week, wall-to-walls TV, right there at Buffalo Wild Wings in Newport News. Great appetizers as well as wings, both boneless and traditional, salads, burgers, wraps, sandwiches, desserts. They have it all at Buffalo Wild Wings in Newport News. Great place to watch excellent NFL coverage with your friends, your family, and so forth at Buffalo Wild Wings in Newport News. Wings, beer, sports. Our Buffalo Wild Wings question of the day to Joe Daniel is, should people, whether they're in sports or at their job, bring politics to work? Taking a knee was a big distraction to a lot of people, and it was a polarizing topic. Do you think they should leave that at home or do it on the company dime, or does it really matter?
I don't think that they should do it on the company dime, personally. I think exactly kind of what you said earlier, that people turn to sports, athletics, as an escape from reality, if you will. They don't want politics involved with their sports. And from what I've heard, a lot of fans didn't like seeing it. They don't want to see it. They kind of just want to leave the two separate. They're there to watch an entertaining football game. Just leave it at that. I think it's great how these athletes are passionate about something and want to be active in politics. I just don't think it's the right time and place. We hear about it also with celebrities like Madonna and Bruce Springsteen. They're using the platform that they have to advance their political agenda or share their political belief. And I think it's fine that you want to do that. I just don't think that it's also effective. Because right now, what are they even protesting? They're protesting based on what I think they are is police brutality against African American people. Who's really talking about that with the action that they're doing? Now they're talking about should you kneel or not kneel at the national anthem. And so it's completely detracting and going against your objective, which is, if you're going to be an activist, is to draw awareness to what you're trying to educate people about. And it's completely distracting. It's not benefiting in any way.
And if you're kneeling because you don't like the president, well, go vote for somebody else because he won. You're going to deal with him for the next few years. All right, let's welcome our next guest. A different type of topic. We've had him on before. Let's welcome Adam Turner from the Virginia Opera. How are you, my friend?
Great. Thanks for having us, Greg.
Very good, very good. I want to get your thoughts, too. I mean, you see, your performers as well. You've been a part of stage and that part for a long time in your career as well. Is that the appropriate time that people should make a political statement, whether they're actors or performers or athletes? What are your thoughts on that?
It's definitely a tricky situation, a sticky place to go into with politics and the arts. And I know that certainly we actually always open our season with the national anthem, and so frequently that's on people's minds, and with the latest, I kind of have to agree with your other guest that when people come to an experience like the opera or a concert like Madonna or somebody like that, they typically are there to escape their lives and to have entertainment and to nourish their souls with this beautiful music and these wonderful performances. And I think anything we can do to allow them to restore their souls and to feed their hearts without injecting politics into it, I think that's always for the best.
Right.
So we certainly steer clear of any treading into any of those waters.
Right. Even baseball does God Bless America as well. All right, let's talk about your shows coming up, Samson and Delilah.
Sure. Well, Samson and Delilah, of course, is based on the Old Testament story, everybody's favorite story of a haircut gone bad. And this opera, it features a lot of beautiful music. It's going to be one of those shows that every once in a while, every couple of years, we have a really big production with a huge chorus, a big orchestra, and these larger-than-life, powerful voices. And this is one of those productions. We have a 40-voice chorus, a 50-piece orchestra, and singers from the Metropolitan Opera debuting their roles with us before they go off and sing them for the big theaters across the world. And I just think it's one of those incredible opportunities. You only get it once in a while, and this show is going to be really something for the books.
Absolutely. And talk about all the different places that people can watch it. Of course, here in Hampton Roads, it's Norfolk, but you've got venues as well throughout the state.
Yeah, we opened this weekend here in Hampton Roads in Norfolk at the Harrison Opera House, which is a beautiful theater. If you've never been, it's a really great place to catch the opera. It seats about 1,500 people, and you can have a drink in the lobby and bring a date, and it's really accessible. I see people there in jeans and every kind of outfit imaginable, including tuxedos and evening gowns. So you'll see just about everything there. And if you can't catch our performances this weekend, we open Friday, and then we have a matinee on Sunday, the 1st of October, and Tuesday night, the 3rd of October. If you can't catch those, we're a statewide organization, and we tour the production to 2 other cities, including Richmond and Fairfax at George Mason University. So, if you don't catch us here, drive up 64 or 95 and catch us somewhere else. This is definitely one not to be missed.
Yeah, I went to George Mason, excellent place right there as well.
Oh yeah,
and we talk about this. We've had you on before. How athletes and performers are very similar. Even when you're doing a radio or TV show, you have to project, of course, and have high energy. But really, that takes it to a different level for an opera singer. I mean, they really have to be on their toes. What are some of the behind the scenes secrets for them to stay so energetic?
Well, that's one of the great things I love about talking to you in the show is that you find the parallels between athletes and sports and this art form, because you're spot on. It truly takes stamina and endurance of someone like a marathon runner or an Olympic athlete. These people, they have to have a really strong core and lung capacity that would rival any great athlete in the Olympics, especially because think about it, they're not singing with a microphone. This is totally unamplified. They have no assistance whatsoever. And if they're in a big theater that seats up to 2,000 people and they've got an orchestra that they're trying to sing over and a full 40-voice chorus behind them, they've got a lot of competition. And that's one of the things they train for decades, to be able to sing with this kind of power. And I think if people never been to the opera before, they've certainly heard Nessun Dorma, Aretha Franklin or somebody singing Nessun Dorma on TV, or you've heard some of those really pretty Puccini arias on America's Got Talent or one of those shows. And people know that music is really special. It's really a beautiful art form. But I think you really can't get the same experience in a television set that you can get in person, because I know when I've been there as an audience member, sitting back in the theater and listening to these singers, you can feel it in your bones. It's chilling. You get goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about them, because these voices are just extraordinary and full of power. So I really think it's something you've got to experience in person.
That's absolutely true. As we're talking to Adam Turner from the Virginia Opera, Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us. Greg Bick on Twitter, GREGBIC as well. And social media is a big part of the Virginia Opera as well, correct, Adam?
Oh, well, yeah. Lana, our wonderful marketing director here in Hampton Roads, Lana does a fantastic job of getting the message out. And I was on a TV show this morning and then one last week, and it's great to talk with you. And, we're very present on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and we're just constantly getting the message out there and trying to break down those barriers, because I think people often think, man, I don't know if the opera is really for me. It seems so stuffy and it's, for rich old people. You know what? I'm here to tell you it's not. And it's trending younger and younger all the time. I think people are really, I've been starting to sign off of Facebook, I have to say, because of just the atmosphere, the political atmosphere and people on both sides just being so upset about how the world is going these days. And I think now more than ever is a great time for folks to experience opera and experience live classical music, because it does something more than just popular music or dance music. It really feeds your soul. And I would encourage people, if you're scared to come and see an opera, give it a chance, because I think you'll be surprised at how accessible and really fun it can be.
Right. We live in a very angry world. Opera's an escape as well. And you mentioned back to the voices, too. Not only are they competing, every person's voice, every actor on stage has a different voice. Kids don't project as well. And, of course, men and women are totally different as well, how they project as well with their time and their talent and their treasure and their voice. But they're competing against the audience, the outside in the lobby, and not to mention the traffic on the roads as well. I mean, that's a lot of barriers. I'm just fascinated by it.
I know, you're right. It's funny. I mean, there have been performances where somebody's cell phone goes off, and we always try to just ignore that, but sometimes it's the funniest ringtone or something. It's just ridiculous. People have really ridiculous ringtones on their phones. I don't know why, but they do. And every once in a while, in a really quiet moment in the show, you'll hear one of those things. And you know what? That happens, and we move on, and we persevere, we work through it, and we keep on performing, because the show must go on. And I always think of that Queen song, Freddie Mercury, the show must go on. And that's really the nature of the beast. We deal with candy wrappers, with hearing aids, with with all kinds of devices and distractions. And And I know for me, when I go to a concert, I leave my phone off. I don't want any distractions because I'm distracted all day long. I've got this device, I'm getting emails and texts all the time, and this is the moment for you to just take 2 or 3 hours and relax and chill out and just be swept away by this powerful music.
Yeah, because it's an addiction. Social media is an addiction. When you're eating, when you're having a conversation with somebody, turn the phone away when you're going to a movie or a show as well. All right, Samson Delia, go ahead and give us the show times in Norfolk once again.
Yeah, it's this Friday at 8 p.m., the 29th of September, and then on Sunday, October 1st at 2:30 p.m., and then Tuesday, October 3rd at 7:30 p.m., all here at the Harrison Opera House.
Very good. Adam Turner, all the best, my friend, and we'll talk to you before the Girl of the Golden West comes up as well.
All right. Thanks a lot, Greg.
Thank you, my friend. Have a great day.
You too.
All right. Adam Turner right there from the Virginia Opera, of course. A locals tradition is CP Shuckers with locations on Shore Drive and Pacific Avenue. People love their prime rib, seafood, and much more. Enjoy NASCAR, Major League Baseball, of course, the NFL. Like both locations on Facebook. Log on to cpshuckers.com. Eat or be eaten at CP Shuckers for great food as well. Stay tuned. We'll come back for What Teased Me Off after this. All right, back to Sports Scene at 12:54. Greg Bicouvaris, the only remaining show from the old game in Virginia Beach. Glad you're with us. Hope you enjoyed Bob Molinaro so far and Adam Turner. For more, go to gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link for archive shows. My background on gjbtv.com, at Greg Bick on Twitter. And don't forget, we'll make the big announcement for the Hampton Roads Sports Media Hall of Fame, who the 5 honorees are in November to be at the ceremony in 2018 at Langley Speedway. For more there, go to hrsmhof.com. I want to thank our good friends at Outback Steakhouse. Yum, yum, great appetizers, soups, salads as well, steaks, as well as potatoes and sides, chicken, ribs, chops, and more, seafood as well, desserts, curbside takeaway, Dine Rewards program. Go by at 1255 Fordham Drive in Virginia Beach. Give them a call at 523-4832. Go by and see their spacious dining room in the Kempsville location as well. Go by and see Mike and the great staff, great bold seasonings at Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville at 1255 Fordham Drive. Great place to dine for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. What teased me off?
What Teased You Off? Presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
The constant bickering with North Korea in our country, but it just seems like we're destined to have some type of outcome there, whether it's going to be good, bad, or ugly. Something's going to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of it is a scary time to really think about it, because you have such unique personalities that you're kind of in this cartoon caricature of reality, where it's really nobody knows what's going to happen, and it's kind of a walk on eggshells reality that we're living in right now.
Yeah, his country, he doesn't realize he can lose that whole country there. South Korea will be fine, but that country of North Korea, which was part of South Korea at one time, will be doomed. If he really cares about his people, he's not showing it as well. All right, about this, what teased me off? When you go to a party or event, Joe Daniel, let's say you and the family and your wife are alone, and you're trying to stand up and eat and have a conversation at the same time.
Stand up and eat at
finger food, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then trying to talk. You're trying to enjoy that ham sandwich or burger, but you really can't.
Yeah, these are really popular with mixers for for example, just like I worked in the insurance industry before. Mixers are super popular in the insurance industry.
Ooh.
There's no sitting area. There's only these high tables where you're just kind of walking around with a little quarter-size plate with too much food on it, and you're trying to interact with people while carrying your drink. Yeah, it's a very awkward situation.
How about this? When you're at a meeting, you've been there for 2 hours on a Monday night, and you're ready to go home. You didn't want to be there in the first place, and you go around the room for the good of the order to ask a final question, and somebody goes for the first time, "Who are you?" That's not a good impression. That's not a good first impression. When you would introduce yourself to somebody one-on-one before or after, but not at 10 o'clock on a Monday night.
Yeah, that's
awkward.
I mean, that's just hilarious.
And that's how you remember that person is, he just didn't, or she didn't think of the right time.
I don't even know if I could be mad at that. That's just hilarious.
Just immature is what it is. When someone has to CC somebody on emails for a power in numbers in a sales presentation because they're not comfortable enough doing one-on-one, they need 3 or 4 more voices to say, we got this, because they know they can't win the battle.
Yeah, or the secret the blind CC on that.
You
That's
haven't-
even the worst, where you don't even know who they're forwarding to, which is just completely, I don't know, tacky. Is that unprofessional, tacky? Just don't do that.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it.
If it's not something direct and no big deal, I don't mind a CC, but if you're trying to get something, stay away from the CCs. Someone touching their face, let's say at a grocery store, at the cashier, or touching their nose, and then wanting to shake hands afterwards. You see it all the time,
oh my gosh,
too.
Greg, yes, that teases me off.
You see it like this.
You see it in like waiters and wait staff. They're constantly also, they're not supposed to, but you see it, and it may not bother some people, but for me, when servers touch their phones or move their hair out of their face, it's a natural reaction, but at the same time, it's kind of gross when you're handing me my food immediately after, like you said, touching your face, rubbing your nose, or especially grabbing your phone. Your phone is disgusting. Don't touch it.
Or your grocery store, whatever you might be.
Yeah,
you know.
and- yeah.
How about this faded white lines in interstate? You can barely see them. Let's make it a little bit more whiter. And the last thing, what teased me off, small print on TV. Why?
You need a bigger TV.
Yeah,
I mean,
just
that's
make it
what that
bigger
means.
print too as well. All right, I want to thank our guests, Bob Molinaro and Adam Turner. For more, go to gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link for archive shows, as well as Greg Bick on Twitter, GregBic. Don't forget sports highlights on nnpstv.com. I want to thank all of our great sponsors as well. Don't forget, save the date for the Newport News Greek Festival coming up October 19th through the 21st. We'll be back next Wednesday. And for Joe Daniel, I'm Greg Bicouvaris. Happy Wednesday. We'll talk to you soon.
AM 1650 WHKT Portsmouth, 92.5 FM W223CT Norfolk. For your daily supply of news and talk, we are the answer.